Preparing for a DIFC, Dubai International Financial Center careers interview. You've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 15 key questions you're likely to face. For each question, you'll see a sample answer followed by the key points to cover. Subscribe, like, and share, and drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. Why do you want to work at DIFC? I want to work at DIFC because it sits at the center of regional finance, not just as an employer, but as an ecosystem builder. The work connects banks, asset managers, fintechs, regulators, and professional services firms, so decisions have visible market impact. My interest is in roles where client service, governance, and commercial growth meet. DIFC offers that mix, while supporting Dubai's position as a global financial hub. While answering, focus on your motivation for DIFC specifically, its role in Dubai's financial ecosystem, and how your skills fit a regulated, client-facing, commercially minded environment. Question 2. What do you know about DIFC, and how is it different from the wider UAE market? DIFC is Dubai's international financial free zone, built to attract banks, asset managers, insurers, fintechs, and professional services firms. What makes it different is the ecosystem: independent regulation through the DFSA, a common law court framework, tax and ownership advantages, and proximity to regional capital flows. I would position DIFC as a platform that reduces friction for global firms entering MEASA markets while giving regional firms international credibility. Make sure to cover DIFC as a financial free zone, its global client base, independent legal and regulatory architecture, and why those features attract institutions serving Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. Question 3. How would you explain the difference between DIFC Authority, the DFSA, and DIFC Courts? I would separate the roles clearly. DIFC is the financial center and free zone authority responsible for developing the ecosystem, licensing non-regulated activities, infrastructure, and client experience. The DFSA is the independent regulator for financial services and markets inside DIFC. DIFC courts provide the common law dispute resolution framework. That separation matters because it gives firms commercial support, regulatory credibility, and legal certainty without blurring governance responsibilities. In your answer, talk about the distinction between DIFC Authority, the DFSA, and DIFC Courts. Emphasize governance separation, regulatory independence, legal certainty, and investor confidence. Question 4. How would you approach onboarding a new financial institution into DIFC? For onboarding, I would start by understanding the applicant's business model, ownership, target activities, and whether it requires DFSA authorization. Then I would guide them through documentation, licensing steps, premises needs, fees, and timelines. The key is being commercially helpful without weakening controls. I would keep stakeholders updated, flag missing information early, and make the experience predictable, because smooth onboarding directly affects DIFC's reputation with institutional clients. While answering, outline a practical onboarding workflow, understand the client's activity, identify regulatory requirements, manage documents and timelines, coordinate internal teams, and maintain service quality without bypassing controls. Question 5. How do you balance excellent client service with regulatory and policy requirements? In a regulated ecosystem, client service is not about saying yes to everything. It is about giving clear, timely, well-controlled answers. If a client pushes for speed, I would explain the requirement, give a realistic timeline, and offer alternatives that still meet policy. I would document decisions and escalate gray areas early. That protects the client, the institution, and DIFC's credibility as a trusted financial center. Be sure to mention that strong client service in a regulated center means clarity, responsiveness, documentation, escalation, and commercially useful solutions that remain within policy and compliance boundaries. Question 6. What are the key risks DIFC must manage as a global financial center? The biggest risks are reputational, regulatory, operational, and financial crime risk. For a center like DIFC, one weak participant can affect confidence across the ecosystem. I would focus on robust licensing, strong KYC, ongoing monitoring, clear governance, cybersecurity awareness, and escalation discipline. Risk management should not block growth. It should make growth sustainable by ensuring high-quality firms, transparent conduct, and trust from global markets participants. Make sure to cover reputational, regulatory, financial crime, operational, cyber, and conduct risks, plus why risk controls protect DIFC's brand and support sustainable financial ecosystem growth. Question 7. What is your understanding of AML and KYC in a DIFC environment? AML and KYC are about knowing who the client is, who ultimately owns or controls them, where their funds come from, and whether their activity matches their profile. In practice, I would verify ownership, screen sanctions and PEP exposure, assess jurisdiction risk, and refresh files based on risk rating. In DIFC, strong AML discipline is essential because the center serves cross-border capital and global financial institutions. In your answer, explain ultimate beneficial ownership, sanctions and PEP screening, source of funds, risk rating, ongoing monitoring, and why cross-border financial centers require disciplined AML controls. Question 8. How would you support DIFC's fintech and innovation agenda? Fintech support has to balance innovation with confidence. I would first understand the firm's product, target customers, licensing perimeter, and risk profile. Then I would connect them with the right DIFC ecosystem resources, such as innovation programs, regulatory guidance, workspace, and investor networks. The objective is not just attracting startups, it is helping credible fintechs scale responsibly within a trusted financial framework for long-term regional growth. While answering, focus on balancing innovation with regulation, understanding fintech business models, supporting licensing pathways, connecting ecosystem partners, and helping credible firms scale responsibly regionally. Question 9. Tell me how you would manage multiple internal stakeholders on a time-sensitive client request. I would start by aligning everyone on the decision, deadline, and non-negotiables. For example, if a prospective institution needs input from legal, compliance, operations, and commercial teams, I would create an owner map, track open points, and communicate dependencies early. If priorities conflict, I would escalate with facts, not emotion. Good stakeholder management means reducing surprises while keeping momentum toward the client and institutional objective. Make sure to cover stakeholder mapping, ownership of actions, dependency tracking, communication cadence, factual escalation, and balancing commercial urgency with legal, compliance, and operational requirements. Question 10. What KPIs would you track to measure performance in a DIFC client or business development role? I would track both growth and quality metrics. Commercially, that means new registrations, conversion rates, client segments, processing times, and retention. From a control perspective, I would monitor incomplete applications, escalation volumes, compliance exceptions, complaints, and turnaround against service-level targets. The best dashboard shows whether DIFC is growing in the right way: faster service, better client experience, and no compromise on governance or risk discipline. In your answer, talk about metrics that capture both growth and control: registrations, conversions, turnaround times, retention, complaints, compliance exceptions, escalations, and service-level performance trends. Question 11. Why is DIFC attractive to asset managers and fund managers? DIFC is attractive to fund managers because it offers regulatory credibility, access to regional wealth, professional service providers, and a recognizable legal framework. I would expect asset managers to care about fund structures, licensing category, substance requirements, distribution rules, and investor confidence. For DIFC, the opportunity is to deepen the fund's ecosystem while ensuring managers meet standards that institutional investors and global counterparties can trust. Be sure to mention why asset managers choose DIFC: regulatory recognition, investor access, fund structuring options, service provider depth, distribution considerations, and confidence for institutional investors. Question 12. How would you handle an unhappy client who escalates because their application is delayed? If a client escalates, I would listen first and separate the emotion from the issue. Then I would confirm the facts: what was promised, what is delayed, who owns the next step, and what policy constraints apply. I would give a clear recovery plan, not vague reassurance. After resolution, I would identify the root cause so the same pain point does not repeat for others. While answering, show calm escalation handling. Listen, verify facts, identify ownership, explain constraints, agree a recovery plan, communicate updates, and prevent recurrence through root cause analysis. Question 13. How would you evaluate whether a new applicant or business proposal is a good fit for DIFC? I would assess strategic fit, credibility, and risk. A proposal may look commercially attractive, but I would ask whether it strengthens DIFC's ecosystem, whether the owners and management are reputable, whether activities are properly licensed, and whether the business can operate with substance in Dubai. My recommendation would balance revenue potential with long-term reputation, because financial centers compete on trust as much as volume and scale. Make sure to cover strategic fit, ownership quality, licensing perimeter, substance in Dubai, ecosystem value, risk appetite, reputation, and the balance between commercial opportunity and governance. Question 14. How would you adapt to DIFC's international and regulated work environment? The DIFC environment is international, fast-moving, and standards-driven. I would adapt by communicating clearly, respecting different business cultures, and being precise with documentation and commitments. I am comfortable working with senior stakeholders, but I also know when to ask questions and escalate. In this type of role, professionalism is not only technical knowledge, it is consistency, discretion, and judgment under pressure with clients and colleagues. In your answer, emphasize cross-cultural communication, precision, discretion, responsiveness, comfort with senior stakeholders, judgment under pressure, and respect for regulated market standards and international client expectations. Question 15. Tell me about a process you improved. How would that experience apply at DIFC? In a previous role, I would look for bottlenecks where repeated rework slowed delivery. My approach is simple: map the process, identify handoff failures, standardize checklists, and measure turnaround before and after the change. For DIFC, that mindset matters because client experience depends on predictable execution. A small improvement in documentation quality or routing can materially reduce delays across high-volume applications and internal teams quickly. Be sure to use a structured process improvement story, covering bottleneck identification, controls, checklist or automation ideas, measurable turnaround impact, stakeholder buy-in, and relevance to client experience. If you are still with us, congratulations. You are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.